Hi everyone, it's Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary, and welcome to Species Center Stage for August 3rd, 2023. This week I just thought I would talk to you a little bit about those species that I frequently put in exercise pens or tents or very contained areas to roam versus the ones that I let free roam. So probably the snake that frequents exercise pens the absolute most is our bull snake, Rodney, because she wants out a lot, but she can't be trusted to free roam in my office space or in many of the rooms of our house because she's just too quick and she gets away from me and she gets into very small places and she tends to she does do a lot of climbing, but she eventually tends to end up on the ground in little tight holes. And sometimes I have to target her out from behind things and it's just not convenient. She also isn't really good with other animals, and bull snakes eat a lot of other animals. So I just like to make sure she's contained in an exercise tent. So you're going to get to see her using 2 of our exercise tents. I think I showed one of these before, and that's the giant plant tent that I turn on its side and put snakes in. But the other one is brand new. And it is part of that mega snake city tent that I have, but it's really for cats. But you can attach tunnels to it and zip it together in different parts and make really elaborate maze type things for the snakes. So you're going to get to see Rodney using that. I do put corn snakes and rat snakes and colubrids in the exercise tents because they just aren't good candidates for free roaming. But I do even put my pythons in them when I am teaching them to free roam. In other words, if they're still too small to be loose, or if they don't have the confidence and I don't have the confidence in them to let them free in a room, even if I'm watching them, I will transition them from their enclosure to free roaming by putting them in exercise tents over the months or weeks or sometimes even for years, and then gradually letting them out of the exercise tents more and more until they're comfortable and relaxed and free roaming in a snake-proof room. I'm also going to show you some footage of one of my Morelia Bredli in one of the exercise pens, as well as Salazar, who is in an exercise pen in quarantine. So I still try to give my snakes who are in quarantine enrichment activities. And so I have this exercise tent designated for that quarantine room. And it's really a big one. It's like 6 feet long by 3 feet wide by 2 feet high. And I am letting him roam in that when he wants out of his quarantine enclosure. So I hope you enjoy this. It's just some footage of the different exercise apparatus that I use to keep snakes contained when they can't free roam in my office or free roam in a snake-proof room. We're going to start out with Rodney in this maze tent that I don't think I have shown before. And this is part of that mega Snake City big square tent that I have. These things can attach to that, but they can also obviously sit on their own. So you've got that one core unit, and all those circle things zip off, and then you can attach tunnels to them. And using those tunnels, you can attach these things all together. So Ronnie is in there right now, and I have a foraging exercise set up for her this time. So I have about 4 small food items hidden for her in containers in parts of this maze. I can tell you there's one in that blue container that she's passing by, but she's going to have to either climb up in it or knock it over to get to it. And then I have 3 more hidden, and they're not all in this main area. They are in different areas of this maze I've set up. And I usually put things in these tents that are either easy to clean or I can throw away, or that belong to the actual snake that I have in the exercise pen. So a lot of these things are going to be plastic or PVC or cardboard. So here's what the tunnels look like. I do have food hidden in that black container, and that's her shift. That white container is her shift box. So when she's all finished, the way that she can communicate to me that she wants to go back to her enclosure is to get inside that white plastic shift, and then I know to put her away. So this is just looking at this same maze from a different angle. And Rodney spent several hours using this. And my one tip is make sure everything is zipped up because there's lots of doors. There's lots of entrances. There's lots of places that you can attach additional tunnels like this circle on top. And so make sure that every hole is covered and that everything is zipped up before you put the snake in there, or I guarantee they'll find a way out. Now here's an example of the tunnel attached to the main mega city tent. And I've got Telemachus, one of my Bredl's pythons, in the main tent, and I attached a tunnel to it, and then I have the tunnel just attached to a cube, and it's just a dead end really, but it's someplace else that he can go, and it's someplace else that he can explore, which is encouraging him to move and to exercise. And mentally and physically, that's beneficial for him. Now we're checking in with Rodney back in this maze, and there is a food item in that green cup, and she's going to have to knock that one over to get to the food underneath it. And she ended up knocking over the blue one in order to get to the food inside of that. So she is chowing down on that. And remember, she still has more food to find. Now this is that big exercise tent in the quarantine room, and I mostly just have it full of empty boxes. And again, it is a big, long, flat tent. It's 6 feet long by 3 feet wide by 2 feet tall. And Salazar is a 12-year-old Morelia Bredli that hasn't been with us very long. And he's in quarantine, but I like to make sure he can still get exercise and he can still experience enriching activities. And so when he indicates to me that he wants out of his quarantine enclosure, I have been putting him in this, and I can basically let him roam in there for hours. This is one of those big plant covering tents that's meant for outdoors. The green part is actually the bottom, but I usually turn it on its side, and I let the snakes use it so that it's longer versus taller. And this is Rodney now using this one. And when it's on its side this way, it's 5 by 3 by 3. Understand that when I let snakes free roam in a snake-proof room, that it's a process. I don't just suddenly turn a snake loose in a room. Usually I do a lot of target training with them in their enclosure and then out onto stands and stations, and then I let them roam in exercise tents, and then eventually transition them into free roaming in a room for a few minutes at a time until they can do it long term. And I usually only let medium to larger snakes do that, and it's usually only when they're adults. So thank you everybody for watching and for joining me again this week. And until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.